Hello, I'm Tessa Shepperson and welcome to this second video, which is explaining what I'm doing about updating the Landlord Law website preparatory to the commencement of the Renters' Rights Act 2025. And at the time of recording this, I don't know when the commencement date will be. So I don't know how long I've got to do the updating work, but I'm getting on with it. So let me share the screen and I can show you what I've done. So this is the members dashboard, and this is the video which I did last week, although when you go to the dashboard now, you'll see this video, which I'm recording on the 10th of November. As you could see, I've put some links below there which link us to the 3 pages that I've got, which I'm using to present the new content. So the information center, this has been updated. I've got information, I'll leave you to read that about what I'm doing. And this is the little menu that I've got, which links to the 3 pages on Landlord Law, which have information about the Act, and also to my posts on the Landlord Law blog. So let's go to, well, first of all, there's the frequently asked questions. These are open access, so if you're not a member, you can go and have a look at these, and hopefully they will answer some of the more pressing questions that you may have. And if there's any questions which you think I ought to add there, then let me know via the green button service, which you'll see linked from the bottom right of the screen on Landlord Law. But now I want to take you to the Renters' Rights Act page, which is where you can have links to all of the things that I've been updating. And most of the things here will be links to members only content. So if you're not a member, you won't be able to see everything that's linked from here, although you'll be able to see a few things. So this is some terminology. It took up rather a lot of space, so I've put it into a little accordion so it takes up less space. That is a link to the statute, which is now on the legislation website, so you can have a look at it if you want to. And these are the documents which have been published by the government, which I've put there for you to look at if you want to. So those things you can see if you're a non-member. Now, so far as forms are concerned, I have now done an initial tenancy agreement, which is a sort of pre-Renters' Rights Act tenancy agreement, which looks towards the Renters' Rights Act and refers to it. For example, the bit about the term, it gives the date when the fixed term will end, and it goes on to say that, or if the Renters' Rights Act commences before this date, then at that stage the tenancy will be converted to a assured periodic tenancy. Not those words, but to that effect. Now, I'm developing a version for a room in a shared house, but I didn't want to do that immediately because I wanted people to give me their feedback on the initial form. And I've had a couple of bits of feedback. One person was concerned about the removal of the ground 1 notice, and he also asked about the ground 2 notice. And the reason why these are not part of the tenancy agreement anymore is because once the Renters' Rights Act comes into force, they won't be needed anymore, because both of those grounds, you no longer need to have any notice about them in your tenancy agreement. They just apply. Somebody else made a very good point about tenants dealing with large items that they wanted to chuck away, and about how they shouldn't fly tip. I'm going to put a small additional clause in the tenancy about that, but I would suggest that if you want to give more information about what tenants ought to do, that's something that you ought to put in your house rules, if you have house rules, because then you can give details of the address for the recycling centres in your area, and also perhaps give a bit more information about the penalties that they can incur if they don't deal with this properly. Because local authorities are very hot on fly tipping, and they're very likely to penalise the tenants. If it's the tenants that do the fly tipping, they can't really penalise you unless you've sort of encouraged them with it, or sort of stood by and known that they were doing it and hadn't done anything about it. But if you prohibit it in your tenancy agreement, I can't see how they can blame you for what your tenants have done. So that's on the tenancy agreement, and I hope that I'll be able to get the room in a shared house version up fairly soon. Now, these two tenancy agreements, of course, won't last after the Renters' Rights Act has commenced, because the Renters' Rights Act is going to, through regulations, prescribe a lot of clauses which will need to go into tenancy agreements from that time onwards. And as we don't know what they are yet, we can't prepare the tenancy agreements. So that's that part of the page. The checklist, I haven't really changed them since last week, but if you are managing a property, that's where you should go to find out what the rules are now and what the rules are going to be, because I've sort of put them both in there. So that's quite a good place to go if you want to check the situation. And of course, the audit kit is still there. Now, I have amended yesterday and this morning the tenancy trail, which, if you remember, is a sort of step-by-step guide, a sort of questions and answer guide, which helps you work out what tenancy type you have. And I've had to do a completely new section, which will apply after the Renters' Rights Act comes into force. And you can tell which section that is because it's got an orange logo, and the other bits of it, which are sort of pre-Renters' Rights Act, have got a navy logo. And there's sort of guidance on that. So if you want to work out what your tenancy type is now and what your tenancy type is post Renters' Rights Act, Tenancy Trail now covers that. And then I've been going through our frequently asked questions and checking them and doing new versions to apply after the Renters' Rights Act comes into force. Now, when I've checked the frequently asked questions, the old version has got, as part of its title, pre-Renters' Rights Act commencement. So once the act has commenced, all those ones will be deleted, and the other ones will sort of be incorporated into the main part of the site. They've all got little red messages at the top which tell you when they're going to be enforced, like they're enforced now and they're going to change, or they're not enforced now, but they will be enforced after the Renters' Rights Act commencement. So you should be able to work out quite easily which one is which. I want to go through the frequently asked questions first and do all of those, because in the other parts of the site, like in the articles and the other various guides, I want to link out to the frequently asked questions for specific issues, so I only explain them in one place. So to do that, I need to do the frequently asked questions first. So as you can see, there are quite a few more frequently asked questions there that I've done. Now, as you'll see, there's still quite a bit more for me to do, but I will be doing that over the coming weeks, and hopefully I will have enough time to get it all finished before the actual commencement date. I have to say it would be helpful if the government could tell us when this is going to be, but no doubt they will do that in their own good time. So that's all for the moment. I'll crack on with some more work, and thank you for watching.